Hello everyone, today we got to play Gugong. So this...
And Panjun expansion.
Okay. This is the deluxe version that we played, so that's kind of what we'll be talking about. I don't think we really know what the differences are between the deluxe and non-deluxe.
I'll talk about that a little bit.
Okay, cool. Alright, but before we dig into this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because you like board games. Mm-hmm. So, pretty straightforward. Robert, tell us more about this particular game.
Okay, so Gugong Deluxe with Panjun expansion. This is the Kickstarter Deluxe version. I don't think, unless you go to the Geek Market and buy it offhand, you're not going to be able to get it via retail. So the Kickstarter version was $125 for everything that you see here. That does come with a couple of mini expansions that was Kickstarter exclusive, specifically the Peasant Revolt board and the stairs to the palace is unique to the Kickstarter. Summer Pavilion was part of the Panjun expansion. So price-wise, like I said, it was $125. Now the retail version for Gugong, the base game, is $59.95. Panjun is $35. And the retail, like I said, doesn't come with the Stairway or the Peasant Revolt expansions. This plays 1 to 5. Pretty good Board Game Geek rating of 8.4. Developed by Andreas Stedding, art by Andreas Resch, and is published by Game Brewer.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about quality of pieces. So the jade are a see-through green, typically what you find in like the sea glass stuff if you go to the craft store. I really like the tiles in this because they're wooden tiles.
Well, I think they're cardboard, but they're really thick and they've got a seal on them, so they don't feel like cardboard. They feel like they're some kind of ceramic or something almost.
Yeah. So top notch on this.
That and also on these tokens.
Yeah. So as well as the Revolt tokens. So talk about really nice.
Retail is all cardboard, so you really got some top notch stuff for the Kickstarter version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only cardboard shits that we got were actually the ship tokens
and these peasant ones, but it's all super thick cardboard.
Yeah, they're super.
But the ship tokens are actually
inlaid,
which you don't ever see a token inlaid.
Yeah.
Which
Now,
is really cool.
did the cards actually come with the sleeves?
Yes, the sleeves came with it.
So sleeves came with it.
I actually have some excess sleeves that they sent us.
So, and then the actual card quality, it is a linen finish. It's actually a really nice linen finish, and thickness is actually really good.
You get a metal pagoda type player marker, which is really nice.
And
you get metal coins and a metal first player marker.
Right, so. And let's not forget about the player storage.
Yes,
containers.
it's all developed by Game Trace.
Yeah, so and you got that for organization, guys. The quality on this is really nice.
It's top notch.
So what are you guys thinking?
I'm a 10.
Yeah, I can't think of a thing to take it off from. I mean, the dice are even really nice. I like the look and the color, the sizing of the numbers. It matches the board.
Yeah.
I mean, they went all out on this.
I mean,
game.
even just the standard wooden pieces, the meeples are not anything special, but they shaped well. Yeah. I mean, everything, you can't complain about anything.
So here's
and the player boards are all notched and perfectly sized for everything. And they give you different sizes. The standard that comes with the Gugong, and then they get replacements for them completely for Panjun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So honestly, though, and the thing is you said the Kickstarter was $120.
$125.
This is a steal. Like, I feel like quality rating top 10, especially for the price point. I mean, you paid a lot, but you got everything.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some that, totally a 10 for me.
I was way pleasantly surprised when I opened this up and saw the quality. I couldn't believe how good it was. I definitely one of the best Kickstarters I've backed.
Yeah. So, theme for this game, it is set in China during the 1500s.
The Longqing Emperor in the Ming Dynasty.
Yeah, so basically, you're trying to be successful.
And you're like gaining influence and trying to get influence in different areas of the board that all score differently.
Yeah, well, and then there's also political intrigue. So it's like you have the going to get your jade thing. You have the actual palace where you're trying to get political power with,
which is one of the more unique aspects we'll talk about in game.
Yeah, and then you have the special ability area, which is like getting house affiliations. So there's a lot of interesting, and then traveling across the board. So there's a lot of cool theme elements to this, and especially, I gotta admit, my favorite theme component for this was the Revolt.
Peasant Revolt.
Yeah, it just was an ever-earing kind of. I kind of I liked it. I think that was actually the best part for theme for this, except for obviously the overall quality of components. For me, it was definitely the Revolt. What did you guys think?
We played this with our friends Nick and Vic from Envy Board Gaming, and that was their least favorite component. Was
really?
That. Yeah, they said that they didn't really think it was necessary. Thematically, I liked it. I didn't think it really played much function in the game.
I agreed with you. I said this is why it's the most important thematic piece for me.
Okay.
I didn't say it was relevant to the game. I said thematically though, it was kind of cool to have that itching revolt kind of in question. But I do think that the penalties weren't that harsh, and so really, whatever.
Thematically, for me, it was moving up in the palace, because we'll talk about why that's so important in gameplay, but in order to win, you have to move up that in the palace. And I think thematically, that made perfect sense, because you're sucking up to the emperor or empress, and if you don't get it, if you don't do enough,
and nobody's as familiar with sucking up as you, Rob.
That's right.
I could go somewhere, but I am not going to.
The other aspect of theme we didn't talk about is art. And
yes,
I think it's
gorgeous.
A gorgeous board. I mean,
beautiful.
I just love how the panorama scene, but everything is segmented clearly on the board. You can tell all the regions are completely different.
It looks busy, but it's not overwhelming.
Yeah,
right. Because that's a lot of things that we found so far. Is they focused so much on the art, they lost gameplay. This had good quality art, but yet it didn't detract from any of the gameplay. So I thought that was really, really
somehow
important.
I managed to completely block out this whole section of the board where the jade was.
Not gonna lie, I maxed out my jade and didn't go there once. I guess I forgot it existed. So give theme a score, guys. What do you want to give it?
I think I'm a 9. I think it maybe if I really knew more of the story behind it, if we really dug into that part of the rulebook, I'd go a little bit higher.
Should we give it? Should we do it now?
I mean, we can, but I've already played the game, so it kind
of
takes away from that part.
Our viewers haven't. We should let them know.
They can read it later. It's a whole page.
Fine.
But I mean, thematically, the story part of it didn't push the game for me, because we didn't know it. So I think I'd go a little bit higher otherwise, but I think 9 is still an excellent score.
I mean, you definitely could feel like you're in 1500 China.
It's got elements that you feel like probably were a factor in ancient China.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your score on theme?
It's high.
That's not a score.
Oh.
That's an opinion.
I'm probably about 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe just a 10. I can't think of anything to take away from it. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. Everything about it is just amazing as far as games go. I think I'm a 10.
Okay.
I think I'm at a 9.5. I think I'm with you, Rob. I wish I would have known some of that history first. But that's part of the problems when you get a big game like this. You're so focused on the rules that sometimes you miss some of that.
Well, we had
flavor.
someone teaching us the game, so they weren't reading the rules.
Which is so freaking helpful.
It took me a while to get used to it.
Yeah, no, for you, I find that you like to learn games by reading the rules. Me, I want a general overview.
I could be an expert at the game and teach it, and Randy will still read the rules.
Yeah, just because.
It's just Randy.
It's just Randy. I think he has a hard time conceptualizing through audio.
No, it's control.
You think?
He doesn't have a control. Yeah.
I don't know about that. All right, so let's move on. And I'm picking off Randy. To actual rule book. We didn't read it. We got taught.
But you did look at it, though, Randy, right?
I read the Panjun because
to see the differences.
Nick and Vic had not played Panjun, so
I do know the cheat sheet on the back was really cool.
Yeah, while Nick was going over the rules for Gugong, I was learning Panjun so I could add on the supplemental.
What did you think of that?
It was good. It's again mini expansions that you don't have to play with all of it. You can combine portions or all of it. We combined all of it, so it taught it effectively. As far as the Gugong rules, they're 20 pages long.
It's a pretty long rule book.
Yeah, they're pretty long, but there's a lot of pictures.
I would definitely call this medium to heavy.
Medium to heavy.
This is definitely not a, hey, we got an hour, let's break this out.
It's kind of a unique medium to heavy because it's not, it's because it's so many sections and different play styles throughout the board. And, and I love the card elements to it, but we'll get into that in gameplay.
There is a lot of strategy to this sucker.
But
we'll get there to gameplay. Rules, give it a score.
I will give this probably an 8 because it does do a good job of getting the detail in. It is a brain burner.
And what I vaguely remember, I played it one time outside of this setting, and I think I would agree with that. I think I had a hard time trying to read it and get into it, but once I got into it, I grasped it pretty well.
Yeah, I think it is very much a worker placement, but there are a lot of moving pieces in this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So let's talk about gameplay.
There's a lot to it.
So I think let's do a very brief overview because this is one of those big games that it would take a good minute to.
Well, you can't really talk about the strategies, but you can talk about
I think we can talk about
play.
The overall how you play the cards and the different sections and what they do.
Yeah. So basically, you have a hand of, is it 3 or 5? Starting at 4 actually. So you ended up with 5. So you have 4 cards that were given to you, and these are gifts that you are going to take to different locations, and hopefully have a better quality of gift than they are going to give you. So basically, if there was, say, a 2 at this location, I would say I'm going to play my 4. So my 4 it's worth more, okay? So they're going to accept my gift. Okay, and then I'm going to be able to do that action, which is directly below it. I get to take as many question mark worth of workers and get jade for it. And then the number of workers are on the locations for the jade. Now, the piece of it is that, okay, well, eventually all these numbers are going to go up. So you can end up with a bunch of 9s on the board. And the only thing that can beat a 9 is a number 1. So basically to reset it. So what happens if you don't have one that's higher? You can either trade cards. So, hey, I'm coming. I'm not going to do any action, but I'm going to trade with that location.
You can card swap.
You can card swap, but that is using your turn. So it's really kind of a loss. Or you can end up paying 2 coins saying, hey, I know I'm giving you a lesser gift, but I'm also giving you hard cash. So then
you're bribing them.
Yeah, you're essentially bribing them to take a lower valued gift, which I had to do multiple times in the game because you do get stuck.
And one other aspect about the card play is that you also potentially have, with some of the higher numbers, you have additional actions on the card. So you might be able to do the action.
Actually, it's on the lower one numbers too. It's not just the high. Actually, the high have fewer actions on the lower numbers.
Yeah, but she's talking about lower on the...
But the idea is that you might be able to do the same action multiple times if you play the right card at the right location.
Yeah, so each card is essentially a turn. And now there are ways to get additional cards up to 2 more. So you can have a total of 6 actions in a round, or 6 gift opportunities in a round. But like you said, there are bonus actions or bonus abilities down at the bottom of the card. So when you go to pick up gifts, you want to be aware of what card you're going to pick up because that's your hand next round. So you don't want to get a bunch of 1s or 2s because then
really hurts. It hurt me for an entire round.
Yeah, because then that way you're pretty much stuck. But at the same time, you don't want to get all 8s and 9s either. Because what if ever all the 9s are on the board? So you want actually a good mixture because your 8 and 9s don't have a lot of special abilities. So you want to get a good flex arrangement for those cards for the next round. There is also things that if you pick up certain cards during the game based on the dice roll up here, then you get additional workers. So workers is the other key resource in this game. So not only do you have to have the gift to do the action, but then you have to have the workers to actually complete the action. So some only required 1 worker, but then others cost 3 to 5 and the thing is you only get 4 naturally in the round, except for the first round. And so you have to earn the rest. So it can be very, very difficult. There were many times.
And your first primary action is like 1 worker. It's okay. But if you offer like 3 workers or 4 workers, you could do something really good. But that's a lot of workers that's now going away.
Yeah, so basically,
you still might have 3 cards. You don't have any workers left. It's like,
that's why I like the expansion so much because it added basically like contract workers where you could acquire them. You couldn't use them and play them onto the board though. You had to use them to spend for cost. And I like that. That gave you more flexibility to increase your stat.
But I'm thinking you're the only one that used that.
I'm the only one that took advantage of it. Yes, I also won the game. So
barely.
Well, I'm just saying I did. So I think they came in very useful.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot going on. So I do the one thing, and I guess people ended up using it, was there's a track that basically lets you break ties. There's the Great Wall. I did like that mechanism for the Great Wall.
The Great Wall was really neat.
So the Great Wall, you do the action, you get to place so many workers based on how many people you pay, and then that builds the wall. But once the wall hits a certain thing, whoever has the majority gets 3 victory points and gets to go up on the palace track as well as something else.
Well, it gives you influence.
Gives you influence. So that's kind of cool. I thought that was pretty nifty. You've got this traveling component where you can take your horse and travel, and every time you travel, you get something. Some of them can cause the people to revolt because you're taking their crap. And then there's also the special ability area, which I thought was really cool. And then there's the whole shipping thing. So you got to get your people on there and then go to the certain location to trigger that action. And then you also have the palace, where if you have the majority, you can get a jade at the end of the round or additional workers at the end of the round.
The key thing about the palace is that you cannot win the game unless you go all the way to the top of the palace.
Oh, this is the palace. I meant that over there.
So that's the summer pavilion.
Oh, summer pavilion.
But the palace here, now the expansion adds the stairway, but either way, you have 2 different paths to go up. But if you don't get up all the way, it doesn't matter what your final score is, you can't win the game. Unless you're in the palace.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting.
I did think that was interesting. And you find a few games that have the,
Yeah, you just don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah, you don't see it a whole lot. And then the faster you get up there, the more victory points you get. Right. So that was kind of interesting. So there are 2 stairwell options. One stairwell gives you stuff, but then takes stuff away. But then the second one, you have to have certain feats completed. And I almost wish I would have went to the other side, because it was a lot harder to do the feats track. Like, there were several times I could not move because I didn't have the feat completed.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more planning, but it's not as expensive because you don't get stuff taken away from you potentially.
Well, but here's the thing, though. It's like you get 2 workers, then you only have to spend 1 later. And then you get 3 prestige, but then you spend 2 later. The only thing is, this one is the card.
It's where but that only costs you if you're on there at the end of the round.
Right. So
if you're past it beyond the end of the round, then you don't lose.
So if I had known that, I think I would have gone the other route, because most of us went up the
right,
and we got blocked so many times.
I think it's half. I went up the right side. I think half of us went up the right side. The other half didn't. Randy went up that left side pretty well, but he really planned around that.
Yeah,
it didn't slow him down.
The only grievance I had with it was on Panjun, that they put a cost that was very prohibitive as far as using the in-game bonuses on those 2 tiles. Because you had to move down the track 3 spaces. Yeah. And that's hard to...
It is hard to make
eat in that. Because, I mean, it took everything to get up there for me. And
that last round, I think 3 of us were out there at the last round.
I made sure I planned it such that I didn't run into any barriers along the way. So I had a smooth sailing to go up. But once I got up there, it took all my actions just to get in there. I managed to get in second into the port. But it was a struggle. And once you're up there, we couldn't find whether you could move back down or not. Right. But I don't think I would have wanted to, because I'm afraid I would have not been able to.
But I think that really adds some tension to the game. And I like that. And I think the last section we really didn't talk about was the influence. So the influence track, you can gives you in-game victory points, adds ties, but you can also spend influence to get stuff throughout the game. So really another point of tension is, do I want to keep my influence up there, or do I want to spend it to get some extra bonus stuff?
Right, and you can only do that when the Great Wall fills up. So, I mean...
I thought it was really neat.
I think there was a lot of interesting mechanisms in this game that you don't see a lot.
Interesting decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I will say the expansion does just seem there. I'm not sure that the expansion was necessary. Except for, like, the palace tracks. The People's Revolt wasn't as flavor-wise, it was great, but as far as actual game worth,
I don't know. I mean, because I've only played it a couple times, one without, one with it, so I really can't say it's necessary, unnecessary. But I think it adds flavor. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely adds flavor. I just don't know, like gameplay-wise, it is just an add-on. And then, overall though, did you guys have fun?
I did. This is a great game.
I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. So I was pleasantly surprised by this game.
So give it a score.
I am probably a 9 on it.
I think I am too. Floating between 9, 9.5. I really enjoyed the game. I didn't do very well at it, but it's one of those games that I think will reward you with multiple plays.
Yeah.
And just being able to evaluate strategy and picking a better one the next time.
Yeah. I don't think I love this game as much as you guys. I think I'm probably going to give this an 8. So, I mean, it was a good game. There was a lot of strategy involved. They're just something.
I think your brother would like this a lot.
Well, my thing
I think Caleb
my
would really eat it up.
My problem is there wasn't a lot of engine building. There's a lot of strategy to this game, but no engine building. And I can't really, for me, for a game to be in our 9 or 10, I feel, for me, I just need some engine building. I need to build something. And I don't felt like I was building anything. So it was good. It was solid. There's a lot of strategy. But it's only an 8 for me. And that's okay.
That's all right.
So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast, and hopefully you guys did too. Hopefully we'll catch you guys again. Bye.
Bye.